Hey guys, welcome back to Make Pods Great Again. 2 nights in a row with my newest bestie, Steph Chung. Steph, how are you?
I'm good. It feels so good to be 2 nights in a row on this podcast.
It's been a very weird social media day for me that we're getting on to do this after I've watched my other bestie on TV with Dave Castro announcing what we're about to talk about. So it feels very surreal, like very surreal.
It
Um,
absolutely does.
my daughter came in. She's like, "What's Nikki doing on TV?" It was really funny.
Your daughter's like, she's cheating on you.
I
You're
know.
like, yeah, yeah,
I know,
we know.
with Dave of all people, who announced Workout 7 for the games. Awful Annie. I,
It's a
I,
doozy.
I'm dying to know what the deal with all these names are, but here we are. So Annie is a benchmark workout. I think we're all super familiar with it. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 of double unders and sit-ups. But the wrinkle in this one is GHD sit-ups, which is a big ouch. And the rope is different, so we'll have to talk about the rope. And then he's thrown in heavy power cleans: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 275 pounds for the men, 185 pounds for the women. Sweet baby Jesus. What do you think about this one?
What a way to wrap the weekend. Well, first off, I'm very intrigued. I like this workout a lot. But there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. A really interesting twist on the classic Annie. Um, I think as Annie, when athletes see Annie, it's a workout we all know. We've probably done it multiple times. And really, once you get to the high level of skill of double unders and sit-ups kind of aren't a strength factor and your cardio is there, it's like there's so little separating the elite. It's like a trip on the rope or how fast you cycle your double unders and your transitions. It's so small, but this is such a cool version of it that I think really is going to separate out the athletes in a big way at the end of the weekend.
Well, let's start with that rope. So, I mean, traditionally it's just a double under rope and those things fly pretty quick. But now he's got this new rope. Is that, what do you call it? A drag rope? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So
So it's the RX
explain that
Marker
to me.
drag rope. Yeah, it's made up of like the kind of rope you would think of in your childhood, like on a playground. Just that really thick. Uh, I don't even know the right word for it. Just drag. It's that really thick rope. There's no bearing on it. It doesn't spin smoothly for sure. And there's only three lengths of it. They only sell small, medium, and large. So it really is like your gym class
Yeah, it's that
classic
thick,
jumping
like
rope.
cord rope that I used to beat my baby sister with. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's
So you know it well. You've got
yeah,
experience with this.
I do know it well. You take both handles in one hand, and now you got a pretty badass whip. It's awesome. Yeah.
It does carry a bit of weight. I used one. The one and only time I've used one was at Granite Games, and it's brutal. I mean, you practice double unders. I think most athletes practice double unders with their own rope that is sized specifically for them. It spins exactly how they like it. You're used to the weight of the handles, you're used to the length of the rope, how close you have to keep your arms. And this throws a lot of different things in the mix because it's heavy, it's awkward, it doesn't spin really well. You probably will have to use a lot more arm than you're used to using to get it to spin around. So it's potentially more fatiguing. And the length is not necessarily good for you. It's not sized to the, half inch, within a half inch of what you want it to be, unless you get very lucky, of course. So there's a lot of things that the athletes are going to have to adapt to if they don't already practice with one of these ropes. And I think that's a really cool element because the games is all about, they say, unknown, unknowable. They're throwing things at you that you might not have seen, definitely wouldn't have been able to practice. And this, where the athletes are in their home environment, where a lot of the things they are going to be able to be in control of and keep the same as when they train, this is a cool way of throwing them out of their element and seeing how they react.
It is really interesting to me. Dave said on the show that they're sending this rope with the judges, so they haven't seen the specific rope until they get it. And we talked about it last night. There's such a wide range of heights, particularly amongst the men, where you see like I think Matt Frazier's around 5'6", and you've got Fikowski who's 6'2", and they're going to get a rope that I would assume is still going to be relatively sized for them, but to your point, it won't be to the half inch or the quarter inch or whatever they get their ropes cut to. And that can make a gigantic difference. Like, I mean, I'm clearly an amateur in every way, but I'm pretty good at double unders, and I can tell when the rope I'm using is a different length than the one I'm used to.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It makes a huge difference, I think, especially amongst people who practice these a lot. Um, it, I don't know what they're going to send with the judges. Maybe they've made a guess based on their stated height. Maybe they've sent 2 options for them or all 3, and the athlete can choose which one they like best. It'll be interesting to see that, but it it's huge. I think that forcing the athletes to adapt to something that's uncomfortable and new is amazing. And that's a true element of the games that is really great. They've been able to keep that and try to replicate that as best they can despite this format.
I hope they give Fikowski the short rope and he has to jump like a schoolgirl on the playground. You know how you used to do it when you were a little kid, and you're bringing your knees up under your chin. Oh my God, that would be
Like
epic. It would be so.
150 tuck jumps for time.
Oh my God, that would be so good.
How horrific.
Well, so once they figure these out, like how bad are the GHDs going to be? Is this going to be a problem for anyone? I mean, GHDs are a pretty standard movement these days for most of these men and women, I would think.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. All these athletes are doing GHG in their programming, or they're doing some kind of core loading. But when you talk about the accumulated fatigue over the weekend, you just never know how those GHG are going to feel. It's event 7 of 7. We talked last night that the posterior chain and core loading is, significant, especially on day 1. And if you're talking about, 2-day DOMs, you're looking at that coming into play, late into Saturday. So yeah, I think GHD as a movement is something that's pretty standard for these athletes, but I definitely don't count it out at the end of those events.
I've never actually watched somebody get rhabdo before. This could be fun. I'm just kidding. It's not
Let's
fun to get rhabdo. Not
let's
fun at all.
hope not.
Oh my God. It just seems like, like for those of us that are mere mortals, 150 GHDs in a workout like this, and then tossing in the heavy cleans just seems unbearable. The cleans 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. To your point, you've got this, tremendous workload after 2 days. You're on the last event. What are your thoughts about what that's going to do to them? I mean, and we're talking heavy rope, blowing your shoulders up, using too much arm. Now you're going into this really kind of intense, uh, you know, core and glute ham movement, now into a heavy lift.
Yeah, brutal. I mean, just way to hammer it home on event 7. Um, I think that the weight is a good one in that some athletes that are a little bit stronger are going to be able to power clean this. It doesn't designate online, so I'm assuming that they can clean in any way that they want. But I do think that some of the field will need to squat clean it. And I think that's a huge disadvantage because given the load of the rest of the weekend, number one, and then if you just look at the GHG, the thing that I feel on the GHG, yes, your core is fatigued, but it's always my legs. That big kick and sit, especially when it's time under tension on the GHG. If anyone's doing the 50 or 40 GHG unbroken, that's just a significant amount of load and tension built on the quads and hip flexors. So that would be my first thing, thinking, can I power clean this and just give my legs a break?
Yeah, it will be really interesting to watch this come down to the wire. I mean, I was thinking back to the clean ladder last year in the games and how some of the people were having a squat clean and some weren't, and how, fatigue was playing in. And, a couple of those races got down to like the very last second. So it will be interesting to see how they power through this. How would you break it up? Would you be shoot for singles for all the cleans, or would you try to cycle anything?
I would go singles. First of all, for me, 185 on a normal day, is something that I can power clean kind of no problem. But when you look at the accumulated fatigue over those rounds, I just wouldn't, for me, it wouldn't be smart to cycle that barbell. But I'm not putting it past anyone to be cycling, especially people like Amanda Barnhart, and Cara Webb, just off the top of my head, the two people who are exceptional on cycling heavy barbells. So yeah, I think if it's in the athlete's capacity to cycle the clean, we might see it. I don't know if that's going to be the separating factor.
I want to try this workout. This looks fun. It looks fun to me. I love
Yeah.
Annie as a workout. It's on its own. I love it. I don't love it enough to buy a new rope, but I would try it with my good old fashioned handy dandy speed rope. It'd be fun.
Yeah. I mean, everyone wants to try the Games RX, of course, but I think it's going to be a great workout no matter what rope you're using, although the rope is going to play a major, major factor. So if anyone's out there is looking to try it, I would say try to get at least a heavy rope, like the Zeus rope or the RPM Scout rope, just to give yourself a little bit of a out of the comfort zone feeling.
So now that you've seen all 7 events, I'll put you on the spot. Any changes to how you think this thing's going to end up?
No, I mean, I think that at the end of the weekend, we're going to have 5 fit people go to the ranch, like maybe, as we were talking about, maybe there's one event that we kind of argue about for a while about, oh, did that keep them out of the top 5? Would they have deserved to be there if, they had done 2 seconds faster on the row? Maybe. I think there's that element in a lot of events, and there's certainly been instances of that in the Games in the past where there's been that thought of, oh, if someone had been 0.2 seconds faster onto that finish mat, how would that have changed the weekend? But I think ultimately we're going to get 5 super fit men, 5 super fit women to go to the ranch in October, and it's going to be fascinating. I think you can't underestimate the power and the benefit of having experience, because these events are no joke, and back to back, this is a lot of volume for 2 days. So the athletes that know how to recover the best, who know their bodies the best, and just overall know how to attack these workouts the best are really going to thrive.
The only thing I would say, just from looking at how varied the workouts are and how some of them are so incredibly specific, I think, while I agree we're going to have 5 very fit people there, I think you could likely have 1 or 2 people that nobody saw coming. Like no one just anticipated it all. Like you look at that freestanding hold, that could really shake things up. A lot of these workouts could really shake things up. Like, you got a couple that are really traditional CrossFit, friendly Fran. You've got a max front squat, which is, just raw strength. But then you start throwing in deficit handstand push-ups. You get that 1,000-meter row for time. That's such a short workout. It could really, blow somebody's weekend up. So I legit think you could not only see somebody you didn't see coming, you could see a defending champion not make it. Possibly. I'm not betting against either one of them, for the record, and it's certainly not
I'm
a
not either.
desire to see somebody not go. I just think, it's just, at the end of the day, it's a sporting event, and I think you could absolutely, see some people get in that you didn't expect, and because you've got 7 events, not 20, you could see
Yeah.
a defending champion have 1 bad event and it blows them up. It's possible,
Yeah. And you know what? That's possible in any sporting competition, any weekend. Even if we think someone is a shoo-in, one thing, separates making it and not. And 5 is a tough cut in
Yeah.
that field. So I think it's anybody's game. Anyone who shows up to play and really executes well has a shot. And I love that there's a couple wild card events in there that we can't predict. That handstand hold, who knows? I'm going to be glued to my screen because we have no idea how that's going to play out. And I think GHD Annie, even though we can probably predict, we can predict maybe who's going to do well at it, it leaves it wide open. That last event in the weekend, it always comes down to who's recovered the best, who paid attention to everything, their nutrition, their hydration, their recovery, their mobility from day one. And it all comes out in that last event. So I think that it really is wide open. It leaves it, it's really interesting as a spectator for sure.
Well, if it comes down to recovery, Hepner's in, because I don't know if you've seen his Instagram page today or not, but he's got the big ice bath from the big inflatable tubs straight from Kohl's. Not from Walmart, not from Target, but from Kohl's, which is where champions buy things apparently. So if it comes down to recovery, our boy Hepner's got this thing in the bag, but we'll see.
I've seen a lot of recovery on scrolling through social media. I've seen a lot of people recovering well. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating. It's a whole
Well,
different environment, a whole different scene, but it'll be fun to watch for sure.
all right. Well, stay close to your phone because as they announce something else or when these things kick off, we got to get back on and do this again. So thanks for the quick update. Appreciate your insight as always. For everyone watching, go watch these games this weekend. Subscribe, CrossFit Games on YouTube. That's where you're going to find it. And we'll see you guys back here shortly. Take care.